Hey guys, it's Shahir. Welcome back to another video. So in this video, I'm going to be doing the ultimate ACT Q&A, going through 50 of the most asked FAQ type of questions that I have been asked by students. Everything from how to prep to how to get used to the exam to how to improve if you're kind of stuck. So we'll get into all of that, but first just a couple things. I'm going to be going through a lot of questions like I said. If you have specific questions that you want answers for and you don't want to see the entire video, check the description down below. I have timestamps for everything so you can find the specific question that you want the answers for. And in addition, the video is kind of divided into different parts. I'm going to start with general questions and then we'll go through English, math, reading, science one by one to answer some specifics and more complex questions as we go, all right? I'm going to try to go as fast as possible because 50 questions is a lot. I can't spend 1 minute on each question, but 10 to 15 seconds. I'm going to give you fast answers. This is going to be fast paced, all right? So first question, why is the ACT important? ACT is important because A, it'll help you get into the school that you're looking for. You generally want to score in the top 75 percentile of the school or major that you're looking at. And then on top of that, it can really help you with scholarships. A lot of schools reward scholarships if you're just above a certain ACT score. So scoring as high as possible is going to help you get into the school you want and also save a lot of money potentially. How do I improve my score? You have to practice. That's the key thing. If you're not practicing with official, full-timed ACT tests, you're not going to improve your score as much as you can, potentially can. And then on top of that, you have to try different strategies for timing and reading and skimming. I'll go into more detail about each section in the later parts of the video. When should I test? Generally, during your junior year, you'll have a free test date with your school, but I've noticed that most students that take it during their junior year, maybe a couple times, and then they end up taking it their senior year, right at the beginning of their senior year, that senior year test score ends up being the best score that they get by maybe a couple points. Certainly that was the case for me. All right. Can I superscore? Absolutely, yes you can. They have a new software feature on the ACT's website where you can send in like superscores to the schools that you're looking at. However, not every school accepts superscores. Some accept only just composite scores. So you have to look with your school to see if they actually allow it. When I say school, I'm talking about universities that you're applying for. So you have to look into that on your own. Every school is a little bit different. Is there online testing? They say that in 2021 they would have it. I don't know if they have it yet. I don't think they have it at this point. Obviously for international students, they only have the online format, but that is not remote testing. So I guess that's kind of a bonus question. Do they have remote testing? They do not at this point, but that was something that they did talk about back when this whole thing started with back in March of 2020. All right. How many questions are there on the ACT exam? Well, if you add 75 for English plus 60 for math plus 40 plus 40, I think it's like 215. Someone double check that for me. I guess I'm going to turn that into a question for you, but you can do the math on that one. It's about 200 something questions. What's a good ACT score? I kind of already answered this. Whatever program or school that you're looking at, see what their general ACT score distribution is for that school or that major, and you want to go for the 75th percentile generally, as high as possible, but 75th percentile is a good point to shoot for. And you can find this information on Google, like average ACT scores or ACT score range recommended for UW-Madison, for example, or University of California, Santa Barbara, whatever it is, right? All right. So how many times should I take the ACT? I generally recommend once in the junior year of your high school, and then another time in your senior year. Right at the beginning of senior year is great. The more the merrier, but for me, I ended up taking it 5 times just because I could. I ended up getting the same score multiple times, which is not ideal. But again, like I said before, that senior year test date is pretty important because a lot of students end up having their best score in that test date. I struggle with timing on the ACT. What should I do? You have to try different timing methods. I'm going to talk about these for reading and science in just a little bit. Especially, it's really important for reading and science because they're more of a time crunch when it comes to time per question. And then as for how you get better with it, one thing you should do for reading and science, and I guess I'm going to talk about this more later, but really divide up your time and keep a timer whenever you're taking practice exams. If you have a timer with you and you keep looking back at it every couple minutes, then at least you know what your pace is. A lot of students don't do this with their timer, and that it causes them to miss out on a lot of potential improvement that they could be making with their timing. What's the difference between the domestic ACT and the international one? There is no difference. I think they're also the same test forms. It's just the format. One is taken on a computer for international students. For the domestic students, it's taken on paper. Oh, also, I believe international students get their scores like the same day because they're taking it on the computer. How many practice tests should I take? 8 to 12 full official timed practice tests is what I recommend. We have 6 linked down below for free. I'm a freshman or sophomore. What should I do in terms of studying for the ACT? It's a little bit early for you. You can try taking it. It's because the thing is you're gonna end up taking it later in high school anyway. And when you have some of those high school classes, especially like pre-calculus, algebra 2 under your belt, your score is going to go up just because you've taken those classes. So you can definitely take it as a freshman or sophomore, but know that your score is going to be much higher as a junior or senior because you're going to have those core classes that you need for the ACT under your belt. I'm a middle schooler, what do I do? Again, same answer. You can take it. I would definitely recommend starting studying for it, but the best time to start studying, I think, in terms of what's too early and what's not too late, is the summer after your sophomore year of high school, because that gives you the entire junior year to work on the ACT, and then you can work up to the senior, September test date for you, and that is where you can try to get your best score. Does Khanacademy help? Yes, it does help with the math content. I don't know if they have English reading content as well, because they have it for SAT, they don't have it for ACT. So basically, if you're not familiar, they have practice content for like the different skills, and they have videos, I believe, as well for the SAT. Especially for math, I believe they have this. So yeah, it is helpful because a lot of the skills do overlap. But again, there's going to be some things that are on the SAT that are not on the ACT, some things that are on the ACT that are not on the SAT, but for the most part, they do overlap. If you're looking for a similar tool that is for the ACT with like videos and dedicated problem sets for each skill, that's kind of what our website is for. That is linked below. Where can I get Khanacademy practice content, content like Khanacademy, but for the ACT? That's our website, basically. That's kind of the question that I just answered, and that is linked below, like I said. Does SAT prep help with, or does it translate to ACT prep as well? So this question is kind of, asking, if I take 8 practice exams for the SAT, does that help me on my ACT as well? Yes, the answer is yes, it definitely does. Keep in mind that the ACT has a science section, which the SAT does not. And also keep in mind that the timing on the SAT is a bit more lenient, so it's more time per question. ACT is more of a time crunch. The ACT questions on average are a little bit easier, but the SAT questions are, you get more time, they are just harder questions. But in terms of skill, it's about the same thing. However, you need to still take a decent number of ACT practice exams if you're switching from SAT to ACT, because you need to get used to the timing, and also you need to learn the ACT science section. Where can I get free practice content? We have 6 free practice exams linked down below. Also check out the ACT subreddit. That has a lot of practice exams, I believe, as well. Is ACT tutoring worth it? If you're a student that struggles with building a study plan, and if you really are just not able to get it going on your own, then yeah, it is worth it. I didn't prep with a tutor. I do tutor students because a lot of students like, having a tutor, and it's frankly just a business that I do, but that's kind of why we're here. But the point is, yeah, if you really need it, it's worth it. But if you're able to build a study plan and practice every week, then it's not worth it. I've actually made a video where I go in depth on why tutoring is or is not going to be necessary for you, depending on the type of student that you are. You can check that out. I released it within the last few weeks. Can I get tutored by you? Yes, link down below. Can I improve my score by 5 to 10 points within a month? Yes, I've seen it happen. You generally need to take 8 to 12 full practice exams within that month and have a lot of time on your hands to review those tests. And the students that I have seen do this, they either have a lot of time on their hands or they use our software and a lot of our tutoring resources. How do I cram for the ACT? I would generally, like if you have the exam like in 1 or 2 days, then taking a practice exam, like maybe doing 2 hours of work on the Thursday night before the test, and then 2 hours of work on the Friday night before the test. That's a good idea. Whatever you, in terms of what you put in that time, you can do whatever you want. Maybe 1 or 2 practice sections, especially of like your weakest sections. That's a good idea. But other than that, like reviewing your mistakes is a good thing to do, like especially for English and math. As for the other sections, reading and science, just taking another practice exam or 2 for those 2 sections is going to be a good move. Because again, the whole point with cramming is you want to refresh and make sure that those strategies and those skills that you learned are still fresh in your head. Which one you to bring on test day? So this is something that I actually looked up on the ACT website. So this is a good list that you can follow. A basic watch is a good idea. A snack is a must. Pencils, obviously. A test ticket, right? You have a test ticket that you need to get in with. Your ID, a permitted calculator like the TI-84 or TI-83. Don't take my word on the calculator thing. Check if they've updated their policy, because if you're watching this video 10 years from now, maybe they updated their policy with different calculators, okay? So make sure you go to the website, check the policy. And then a mask. If you're taking the exam nowadays, you definitely need to bring a mask. If you don't bring one, then they're gonna kick you out. What's the best prep book? The best prep book is the official ACT prep guide that comes with 6 or 5 official ACT practice tests. Those are official exams that are just like the actual ACT. Remote proctoring, is that a thing? No, not at the moment. But they said that they will consider bringing that to the table sometime soon. So, but I wouldn't count on it. Can I see my test PDF that I took on test day? Can I see that after test day? Yes, you can. You can order it depending on your. Usually, yeah, you can. Through the website, there is a portal on like their software where you can request them to mail you the actual test booklet that you saw on test day. Should I test again? I mean, if your score isn't satisfactory, then yes. But if you're kind of in that limbo where it's like it's good enough, but it's not there. I mean, my thing is always, if you have time and your score isn't there for you, if it's not where you want it to be and you feel like you can score that, like if you've done it on practice exams, then yeah, I would highly recommend taking it again, because I took it 5 times. I'm in that situation. But maybe for you, like for financial reasons or because of you don't have enough time, you can't take it again, then I mean, then you don't really have a choice. But do your best, try to take it again if you can. I always recommend taking it again if you have that available for you. What's the easiest section to improve on the ACT? Science. What's the hardest section to improve on the ACT? Probably English if you're not a native English speaker. Or reading if you're not a native English speaker. If you are a native English speaker, then probably if you haven't taken the needed math classes like trig, geometry, algebra, pre-calculus, then math is going to be very hard. If you are a very slow reader, then reading is going to be hard. So it's really dependent on what your skill set is. But again, usually science is the easiest to improve. I think what's hardest would probably be English or math, depending on your skill set. Okay, how much did you improve your ACT score and at what age? So I took it 5 times. First time I got a 21. This was actually not an actual test date. This was like an official test date simulation. So they basically had us go to this testing center, quote unquote, take like the full sections, the 4 sections, and then we had our scores sent to us via email after. So I took that simulation, I got a 21 without any studying, then I improved to a 33, and my final 33 came in the senior year. Like I said, that September test date. But the 21 came like sometime during my sophomore year, towards the tail end of that year. Do your videos and tips really work? Yeah, just look at any of our most popular videos and look in the comments. You'll see a lot of people that had success. Also, 99% of our people that watch our videos, they really like them. So, if I'm applying to college for a STEM major, do my English and reading scores matter that much? If it's a college that has a average ACT test score of above a 30, like if it's a prestigious college, then yeah, all of your scores matter. But if you're like if you need like a 24 or like a 26 to get into the school, then yeah, your English or reading won't matter as much. I have more questions about test date specifics, cancellations, vouchers, and fee waivers. Where can I get them answered? There is an ACT FAQ that I'm going to link below that has a lot of like very technical questions about, oh, if my test date gets canceled and I have a fee waiver, but I have this situation and then this other cancellation and then another test date. If you have complicated questions like that, there's an FAQ that answers those things. I'm not going to make a video about those because those are boring questions. What about the 5th test? So you might have seen, if you've taken the ACT recently, that they have a 5th test that they make you take at the end of the exam. This doesn't count for anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's just them testing out questions for future exams. All right, let's go to ACT English questions. How do I improve my English score? You need to learn the English skills, especially punctuation, commas, grammar, kind of the more like rhetoric type of skills of like how to arrange different parts of a essay. So how do you learn that? First of all, look over your mistakes on your practice exams. And secondly, using a book or a resource that teaches you these skills like one by one with dedicated, focused problem sets or with focused like lessons is going to help you a lot. Because typically this is something that you learn in a classroom setting. That's what we do on our website as well. Some people have certain books that they like, if I'm going to be honest, but I've seen people have a lot of improvement with this with our website, or even with a tutor that can help you as well, and we do tutoring. How do I cram for English? Looking over your mistakes on your past practice exams, redoing the problems that you got wrong on past practice exams, and making sure you understand why you got them wrong and why the correct answer is correct is a great exercise. And then doing another practice section the night before. If it's one of your weaker sections, English, if it's one of your weaker sections, then that is also going to help. English is my first language. What do I do? Same exact thing as everyone else. How do I get better at English? I mean, one more thing I'll say. If you have a lot of time on your hands, then reading like more like English books or watching like TV, English TV, movies, things like that is going to help you. Especially if like reading stuff because it's on paper just like the ACT exam. So that definitely will help. How do I get better at English timing? Keep a timer with you. Make sure that you divide your time up, so 9 minutes per passage. And there's 5 passages, so that adds up to 45 minutes. Keep in mind, if you do the math on that, right, you end up with about 15. You have 15 questions per passage and 9 minutes per passage. That's about 30 to 40 seconds per question. So if you're spending if you realize that for every question you're spending a minute, you're spending way too much time. You know what 30 to 40 seconds feels like. You don't need to time every question, but in your head, if you realize you're going way over 40 seconds for every question, then that's a problem, okay? Some questions will take more time. Some questions will take just 5 seconds, but keep in mind you have a limit on average. And then, yeah, that should keep you in a good situation. Let's move on to math. How do I improve my math score? It's the same thing as ACT English. Make sure you have the 8 to 12 practice exams under your belt before test date. Review your mistakes. After every practice exam, review all your past mistakes. That's a great exercise. Take notes on your mistakes and the correct answers behind those questions and why they're correct. Redo the problems you got wrong in the past. That's a great way to build skills and learn those skills. Take pre-calculus if you can. Algebra 2, pre-calculus, Algebra 1, trigonometry, geometry. These are all tested on the ACT math section, and they're very important. Pre-calculus is less important. It's not required, but if you have it, it's really going to help. How do I cram for math? In terms of cramming for math, I recommend the same thing that I recommend for English. Look over your past problems that you got wrong and redo them, so you refresh your head in terms of what mistakes have I made in the past and what mistakes do I want to avoid making, because you're going to see the same type of problems on the actual test. Apart from that, take another practice math section if you can. That's only going to help you as well. And those two things are probably the most important. How do I get better at math timing? Try to use this timing strategy. Try to answer the first half of the questions on the math test within the first 20 minutes. That gives you the last 40 minutes to answer the other half of the question. So we call it the 20-40 strategy. 20 minutes, then 40 minutes, first half of the questions, other half of the questions. Again, the whole idea is you're trying to save more time for the harder questions, which will take more time. And if this is obviously a hard strategy to follow, even if you're not perfect, even if you're not able to do it right away, it's still something that will help you get faster and faster, even if you try your best and you're not able to do it perfectly. Does the ACT test on calculus? No, it does not, but having calculus under your belt is going to help you do a lot better on math. People that take calculus just do better on the math test because you're getting more experience with all the skills. What math classes should I have done to be prepared for the ACT math? Absolutely, you need to have Algebra 1, trigonometry, and geometry. If you don't have these three, then you are putting yourself in a very compromised position. Bonus classes, like almost required, would be Algebra 2. These 4 are like the core ones. The bonus would be pre-calculus, because there are some pre-calculus things that are tested on the math test, but they are only in like the last 5 to 10 questions. The actual bonus, like way out there, you really don't need it, but it's really going to help you, is calculus. Okay. But in terms of those first 4 classes that I said, those are really what you really need. How do I get better at the hard problems in the ACT math test? Taking pre-calculus or calculus will help. Making sure that you have the practice volume will help as well. Looking over your past mistakes, because it's the same skills as the other problems generally, a lot of the time, most of the time, in the last 10 problems as the rest of the exam for the math test. But again, it's just that they're combining those skills with other skills. So it looks harder, but it's really, a lot of these problems are actually very simple. If you just need to know the skills better, and that's what getting really good at the other 50 problems in the math test is really going to help you with. All right, moving on to reading. How do I improve my reading score? Try the different skimming methods, the different timing methods that we have talked about on the YouTube channel. I'm going to link them down below in the videos. If I forget, then please remind me in the comments. How do I cram for reading? So with reading cramming, I generally recommend just take another practice section. It's really hard to cram for reading because this is something that's more strategy based. It's not like you can just review some skills or review the problems you got wrong. Reading is really all about how well you read, and it's hard to just improve that the night before. But still, I would always recommend, when I was cramming for reading, I would just take a practice reading test the night before. How do I get better at reading timing? There's different timing methods. Again, like I said, the videos that I linked below will talk about this. I'm a slow reader. What do I do? This is kind of also, I have videos for this as well. And the reason I just keep recommending the videos here is because I'm getting to the end of this video. This has become kind of a long video, and also because each of these questions has a very long discussion, and there's different ways to go about it depending on your skill set. So I'm not going to get into all that here. I will link videos that will answer all these questions for you. Last thing, moving on to science. How do I improve my science score? It's the exact same as reading. taking practice exams, trying the different skimming and timing methods that we have. Annotating is going to help you as well to remember important information. I generally recommend doing the passage first as opposed to reading the questions first. I've just seen it work better for more students. But again, if it doesn't work for you, try the other method of reading questions first. You never know, it might actually help work out for you. How do I cram for science? Cramming for science is the exact same as it is for reading. Again, like I said, it's not really you have to learn a set of skills. It's really just your ability to read passages. And that's something that's acquired over time, over a lot of practice tests. So in terms of how you improve it, I think you really just need to take, have the large practice volume before your test date, in the weeks and months leading up to it. And then the night before, what you can do is take another practice science section. I think that's a good exercise. It'll help you remember your strategy, make sure that you still got it, the night before, and that it's refreshed for you. How do I get better at science timing? Again, I have dedicated videos I'm going to send you that are going to be in the link below, in the description below. Does the AC Science test on actual skills and content? It does not. However, there will be 1 or 2 questions in there that might ask you about background knowledge. And these are completely random. It's not something that you can study for. On one particular test, it might ask you about the definition of DNA. On the next science test, it might ask you about something about electricity and what a volt means. Something like that. It's totally unpredictable. It's usually going to be very general knowledge, so it's not something you can study for, like I said, and it's not technically on their list of question types or list of skills. So that is the 50 or so questions, definitely more than 50, about the ACT. I hope this was helpful. Again, if you have any more questions, if you have more things that you want answered, or if you're looking for any more help or tutoring sessions or practice content or courses, we have both free and paid content linked below on our website, so you can check that out. A lot of students have been improving quite a bit with that content and they find it very helpful. That's it for me. Best of luck prepping, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. See ya.